The man, myth, and the legend Tahir Naveed. Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Daga Daga Bhai Bhai, Assalamu Alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Kya haal hai, Amish?
I'm really good. How are you?
Excellent.
So first question I have is, did Microsoft start the coronavirus?
No.
Because
No. In fact,
2015, Bill Gates was ahead of everybody in the world. The doctors didn't know about it. The government didn't know about it. He predicts everything in detail and he gives the solution in detail. How did you guys know ahead of everybody else?
so you know that Bill Gates is actually not that much in touch with Microsoft anymore. He's mostly focusing on his projects with the Melinda Gates Foundation. So he has some ambitions in his life. One of them is to get rid of a couple of diseases in the entire world. Polio is one of them. Of course, with his team, he has special access to data. So that's why, because of the data he predicted,
But
the actual thing that he predicted was not the pandemic. He said that if there is a pandemic, our health system are not capable enough to, catch up quickly. So that's exactly what he predicted, not the pandemic itself.
Well, see, this is the exact reason why I called you on my show, is because with the precision in which he predicted not just the event and how it would happen. I mean, so technology-wise, you guys are so up there. And you in specific, your background, you are an expert in Microsoft. You published a book in it. You're a SharePoint specialist, and now you're a leader in Microsoft. So there's so much we can gain from you. And the most beautiful thing in our relationship is that you're the one who actually brought me into technology with your guidance. While I was a door-to-door salesman knowing nothing about nothing, you gave me the guidance. And that's why I needed your help now, because I have these listeners who are unemployed, don't have these jobs, and they're doing really hard laborious type of jobs. How can you advise, or what advice can you give these people to get into the world of technology?
So, if somebody want to get into the technology field, definitely, there are two ways to go about it. Well, actually, it's a one formula, but it has two, I would say, point A and point B for that. One is you have to learn it. And before you even learn it, you have to really, really like technology. Otherwise, there's going to be, 10,000 programming languages, C#, Python, Java, JavaScript, you name it. You will get confused in that. So first of all, you have to have your passion and then clarity, and then you have to learn it. So that's the theory part. And then the second part comes in, which is basically you should be able to take some risk. You should be able to take some, what should I say? You should be able to do some experiments on that. If you combine these two things, point A and point B, theory and practical, only then you're going to succeed in it. I can give you, many examples, and I'm sure you have seen that too. There are a lot of people, in our community, outside our community, they come up to you and say that, hey, can you code? And as soon as you tell them, yes, I can code, they will say, I have this $1 million idea, but I need somebody to code it. But the thing is, reality is, if you have $1 million idea, or if I have $1 million idea, I would spend a weekend on learning at least JavaScript to come up with a website or, anything. If I have $1 million idea, which I really believe in, I can spend a weekend to learn Python, but people don't do that. So it goes back to the formula that I have, implemented in my life, theory as well as practical. So you have to make sure you combine that together.
So a friend of mine, I'll give you a perfect example. His name is Temur. He works at a restaurant. So the restaurant was shutting down. He didn't have a job, and he was telling me that I want to get into technology. Now, if you were in my shoes, I mean, he doesn't even know what Python is. Like, he has no idea. For someone like that, what would you say? Where's the first step? What do they do? And like you said, it's so confusing. There's so much to learn out there, and especially technology is. Where do you go? It's like so much.
Right. So if we are talking about that, Temur, I think he's starting from zero. So first of all, manage the expectations. First of all, tell him that it's not that, something that you can go and take a quick training and boom, you're a full stack developer. It takes years of practice, especially with the programming, especially with the technical knowledge. Not, I'm focusing on programming more and more because, that's my background. Even if you go with the architecture, it's not like that, you just do one thing, one course, and suddenly you are an architect. The title of Bill Gates was CEO and Chief Architect. The title of Steve Jobs was, CEO and Architect of XYZ. So, you think you can do one course and suddenly become an architect or suddenly become a programmer? So you will learn at least 10% of it in that course, and then rest is practice because, all these technical fields, it's basically your problem solving mindset that you have to prepare.
Do you believe in the college
part comes.
Do you believe in the college approach? Do you think people should go to college first and that?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So let me explain. So if you go into the college, I would highly recommend to going into the college. Yes. But finishing the college, maybe it's not for you because we have so many examples in our field. I'm not talking about the Bill Gates and, Mark Zuckerberg and, all those guys, who went to the college. They went to Harvard, and, Steve Jobs also went to, I forgot the name of the university, but he also didn't complete. So idea is that as soon as you realize you go to college, and as soon as you realize that, okay, I have enough knowledge and you're ready for the experiment, then go for it rather than completing college.
It's interesting you mentioned that because I remember how you helped me get into technology, because I gave you a phone call and I said, I want to get into technology. And you said, oh, really? And then in your humorous style, you asked me or told me that I will give you a problem and I want an answer. And you made up a problem for me. I remember you gave me I have this technology, this problem, this, and I'll give you a hint and get back to me with an answer. So I went, next day I did research and I came back and I told you I'll use these technologies or that technology and cloud and all that stuff. And then you gave me another problem, and then you gave me another problem, and then the miracle was that you didn't help, do the hand holding at all. You didn't pull me into any company. You didn't pull me into the company that you were working at. I did all this preparation, and it was a miracle that I landed an interview at the same company you used to work at, and you became a referral for me. So I thought that was really interesting, that step by step, just by employing yourself, how things start to open. So I do agree with you on that.
Right.
Yeah. Is this the same approach that you took? What's your background? How did you get into technology?
So I got lucky. When I was in 8th grade in Pakistan, I used to steal money from home, and you used to go to play video games, Street Fighter, Hadouken, very famous game. Yeah. So one day, my dad, he suddenly showed up and he was like, oh, okay, so you guys are doing this thing. And then, he had a talk with me that, hey, man, I don't disagree with the games. I disagree with the environment that the people are over there and, they're smoking and, most of them are, doesn't look like they're from a good background. So let me do this. Let me get you a computer so that, you can learn computer while playing games. And I was like, all right, let's do it. And in 8th grade, I guess in 1993, 1994, he got us a computer. And I still remember my father spent a fortune on that. My father was a government servant, So he spent a fortune on that. And as soon as we got it, it has a disk operating system in it, DOS. So, that's actually, I think that's what get me into the computer field. And, I think I knew only 10 DOS commands, and I was just a king of the entire apartment community where we used to live. So that's how I got into technology. And by the time I was doing my, high school and then college, I was pretty clear that, what I'm going to do. So when I get into the university, in the college, I knew that, this basic stuff of the computer science, I already know that. So let's go into the core of it. And then we used to hear these stories that, the world's richest person is actually a programmer. His name is Bill Gates. Who was that? He invented Windows. Oh, the same Windows that we are using at home. So I was like, all right, now the things are getting aligned together. So I don't need to be a doctor. I don't need to be a lawyer. And so even in the, computer science, I chose a specialization in the software engineering. And that's how we got in.
So conclusion, you see how the dynamics are changing, especially after coronavirus, right? And businesses are operative business are shutting down. A lot of heavy infrastructure type businesses are shutting down. Technology is still booming. So for a lot of new people that will be looking towards technology for a career, what domains, what areas would you say is a good place to start? Or where do you see a bright future?
So if you're talking about the people who have a little bit of background on the technology and they understand technology and they want to excel and they want to go to the next level of the technology, that's a different conversation. If you want to talk about person who has no idea about the technology,
let's go with no idea.
No idea. Yeah, that's going to be a little difficult because then you have to have a basic understanding of couple of subjects like what is a database? That's a complete subject. What is the programming? Well, that's a complete subject. What is an operating system? What is web? And when now we have a new topic, which is what is data science. So once you have these understandings, then you can choose which specialization you want to do. And
so let's go from this level now. Somebody who has now gained an understanding, a basic understanding of these components, where would you go from there?
So from there are 4 areas in technology right now which everybody is trying to jump in. If you look at last 10 years and 10 years before that, so I'm going to prove it by the data actually. So if you go to the 90s, that was the era of everybody was typing the command line and everybody was interacting with the computer with the command line. Fine. Then Windows 95 came in. Actually, UI was invented way before that, but Windows 95 actually made the user interface really interesting. So people started to interact with the computer with the user interface. Then in 2010s, starting in the 2010, it was the era of the web. So people started to, the software that you used to write in the UI, in the desktop, that is now going towards the web. So now you're interacting with the websites, and the benefit was that you don't have to install software on all the machines. Just website is there, everybody just go there. Website has an address, and everybody can interact with it. Still, people are interacting with the GUI, graphical user interface. Starting with 2008, when the iPhone, or I would say the smartphone era kicked in, that's when people started to interact with the computers with the touch screen. Now, if you go back like 4 years, the new way of interacting with the computer is coming in, and that is the voice. You see Alexa, you see Google, and you see Cortana, which is not that popular, but we still see that the new way of interacting with the computer science is there, and that has opened up to 4 new fields in the computer science. One is your data science. Like today, if somebody is doing programming in college and he has an idea, Bill Gates would never recommend him to leave the college unless he has mastered data science. So one is the data science. Why? Because there's just too much data out there right now. Even if you look at the social media, there's just too much data. So the data is as good as no data, unless you make sense out of it. So making sense out of it, that is the science, which you call the data science. Second field is basically kind of the data science, but a little bit more defined, which is AI, artificial intelligence. Now, when I talk about AI, I don't mean, and I know that you also have a technology background. People confuse it with the Terminator 2 type stuff and stuff like that. Basically, your software is going to be the same, but it's going to have different aspects which will be AI enabled. For example, your phone can recognize your face rather than if you put a melon in front of you, phone is going to recognize you. So AI is already incorporated in your camera. So those type of small problems, AI is going to take over.
Like machine learning, right?
Exactly, the machine learning. Yeah. So that's exactly when we dissect AI with different fields, then there are different subfields inside the AI, like machine learning. Then there's the neural networks, and then there is reinforcement learning. So deep learning, and then the reinforcement learning. And reinforcement learning is one of the best machine learnings out there because it doesn't require the previous data. It has a risk and reward system. So in order to solve many problems, you don't have to have a huge amount of data, and that's when reinforcement learning comes in. So Second is the data science. Second is the AI. First was the data science. Third is Internet of Things. Like you see that everything is being enabled internet. Like turn off the lights. You talk to. I'm not taking them because it can get activated.
Like things are talking to each other through internet. Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
So you can connect your lights to the internet. You can connect your TV to the internet and stuff like that. So that is another interesting field. Actually, I was discussing to one of the friends that it's a good idea to have a chip, sort of small device which has a GPS capabilities, so that if a person has coronavirus, he can just mark himself that, hey, stay away from me. So if that person is going to a shopping mall or anywhere, people should aware that, hey, there's a person inside this mall, stay away from him. Of course, it's a privacy concern,
Yeah.
but as far as we're discussing the idea,
that's a scary idea though. All right, and the last branch?
That one is basically your full stack development. So now the idea is, before 15 years, 10 years, if you know one programming language, you're good, like JavaScript or C# or whatever, you're good. But these days, you have to have a full stack environment.
Okay.
For example, what does that mean? You have to understand a little bit of UI aspect, like HTML and CS, which is basically JavaScript, which is incorporated with the JavaScript. And then the middle tier is basically you can write in C# or even JS, with the help of Node.js. And then on the back end, you have to understand the database, which is you can see the old relational database management systems, or you can do the NoSQL databases.
So last question I have is that what attributes, personality attributes, have you? I mean, you've coached and led so many teams, so many people, and you've been a mentor to so many, including for myself. What personality traits have you seen across people that tend to do really well in technology?
Two things. One, they should be hungry, and second, they should be problem solver. I see many problem solvers who are not hungry enough. My brother is one of them, actually. He's hungry, but he's a lazy guy. And so, it's again going back to the same theory that, you have to learn something and you should be able to do a small experiment on that. Fine, you're going to lose some time, you're going to lose some money on that. But once you go through that experiment, that teaches you a lot, and that combination actually, makes you a good professional.
Got it. Tahir bhai, thank you so much. You're a stand-up guy. You're always a source of help, guidance, inspiration. I love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
All right.